Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing today? How are you guys doing today? Hey, once again, this is Gregory Wiles coming live to you from Houston, Texas with this inspirational morning walk. For first-time listeners, I just get some exercise in the mornings and I share my thoughts with you guys, what I'm inspired to talk about that day. It's another beautiful day here in Houston, as you can see. Nice sunny day. We're more on the warm side today. We are already in the 70s for today, so it's going to be on the little warm side today, but that's all good. That's all good. So yes, guys, for first-time listeners, I just get some exercise in the mornings and I share my thoughts with you guys. If you like what you're hearing, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I share the link throughout there. You can go to Gregory Wiles, that's W-Y-L-E-S on YouTube, and you're going to see the channel, and you can search through there, and there's a lot of stuff that you can find there that's something that's going to bless you. But what I'm doing, now we're looking at different laws. I want to break this stuff down a little finer, and I'm trying as best as possible to give you the different laws that govern different things. We look at the law that a few laws over the last 2 days there, and now I want to give you the law that govern different things, right? And so I'm going to even break it down finer so you can understand how the enemy really attacks us and what he used to attack us. It's just like a lawyer, you know. If you got whatever thing you're going to court for, you need a lawyer within that area, someone who specializes in that type of law. You're going for a divorce, you need a divorce attorney. You're going for anything with property, you need somebody who got the knowledge for all around, you know, properties. If you're renting, whatever it is you're going to court for, you need a lawyer who specializes in that type of law, who know the law around that thing. That's just how God laws are. Is each law for different things, right? So what we want to talk about is a general law that really govern. There's a law that's a pillar on our Christianity. A law that's a pillar that all Christians should know and should abide by. And every time we break this, the enemy got access to us. Because let me show you in Psalms 94:20. Psalms 94:20 said, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? Shall the throne of iniquity," or some say the kingdom of darkness, "fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law?" So what this is saying, the enemy have access to us when we break the laws. He got to use these laws. They can't jump on us. Not until we break these laws, then he can have access with you. He frame his mischief by a law. He framed his mischief by a law, all right? Look, Psalms 94:20. So he got to get laws. He got to get us breaking laws before he can do anything to us, right? So I'm trying to break these down and show us the different laws. So today we can take this law that really govern the spiritual warfare, and it's a law all Christians should. It's a serious part of the Christianity, right? Let's look at Ephesians 6:12 through 17. Ephesians 6:12 through 17. He said, "For we do not fight against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in the dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places." Let me read that again, Ephesians 6:12. You're saying, "For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies," or some things our enemies are not flesh and blood, right? "But against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world." Evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in the dark world. Mighty powers in the dark world is the kingdom of darkness, and against evil spirits in heavenly places. So what Paul is saying here, guys, our enemy is not flesh and blood, is not humans. You go to work today and the boss getting on your case, you and your husband, your wife, your child acting up and all of that. This law is saying that human being is not what you're fighting against. That human is not your problem. That's not your enemy. Your boss is not your enemy. The best friend who talking behind your back is not your enemy. Your husband, wife, ex, or what is not your enemy. That's what this law is stating. And we as Christians break this law a lot. And see, when we break the law, that's when the enemy now has the right to our mind and pump more negative thoughts in us. Because, for example, you're going to work today, your boss giving you a hard time, and you occupying time thinking how I can get revenge on this boss, she or he only getting on me. And you see, once you focus on the boss, the enemy can pump more stuff in your mind. You leave an open way for him into your mind now to pump all these negative things, what you're going to do to them, what you're not going to do to them, how you're going to get revenge on them, and what's going to happen to you when you take those suggestions from the enemy, right? It can just lead you to more frustration, or even get you fired from your job, even send you to jail if you just get upset and want to hit them and retaliate, and it just leads to no good. So that's what Paul's saying. And the enemy would want you to focus on the human, because once you focus on the human, he is hiding out. He's not being detected, right? He's not being detected once you keep focusing on the human. I'm going to prove that to you, right? So he would love to keep you there focused on the human, right? So this law is saying, and we get caught up with this all the time. This is one we break because we just seeing things as the person in front of us, as our enemy, right? And this same Ephesians 6, so this is 12 through 17, I'll read. Tracy Heyman, good morning, how are you doing? So it went on to say in verse 13, Ephesians 6:13, therefore put on every piece of the armor, so you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. So Dwayne Allen, good morning, how are you doing? So so he's saying put on the full armor of God. Again, this is spiritual stuff he's talking about. This armor is not an armor you could go and buy at Home Depot or Lowe's or nothing like that. This is a spiritual armor, right? It says, stand your ground, put on the belt of truth. This is all the pieces of the armor. The belt of truth and the body armor of God's righteousness. For shoes, put on the peace that comes from the good news, so that you will be fully prepared, right? Don't walk yourself into trouble, right? In addition to all of these, hold up the shield of faith to stop the fiery arrows of the devil. Put on salvation as your helmet, and take the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, right, guys? So this law here, it's saying flesh and blood is not our enemies, guys. Flesh and blood is not our enemies. And did a lot of teachings on this. If you're hearing this for the first time, or you understand, you could go back a little bit and talk about the spirit of infirmity. We talk about the spirit of jealousy. We talk about the spirit of confusion. And when I go and break these stuff down. So these stuff is very pronounced. So if someone is coming up against you, these characteristics are so pronounced. That's what Paul's saying. Look and see what's the characteristics. Was you accusing this person of being mean? Or the selfish? Or this person is a liar? Or this person is controlling? That's what you're coming up against, and that's what you should be praying against. If it's a controlling spirit, you need to be praying against. Not the person, not fighting the person. You come against a controlling spirit that's influencing that person. That's what this law is saying. So if this person's lying, you come against the lying spirit that's influencing them. And I break all these stuff down and show you evidence where these stuff do exist in the Bible. Go back, I got the lying spirit and all of that. I got the complaining spirit and all of that stuff. I break them down, right? But we're taking the general law because I want people to understand certain things you're dealing with. You got to find the law that governs that, and then they're going to guide you how to operate, right? So here again, Paul was saying, so we, in 2 Corinthians 4:18, so we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. So Paul telling us, guys, your Christianity is based on spiritual things. It is spiritual. It is spiritual. God is a spirit. The devil is a spirit. His angels are all spirits. It's spirits. He said he got all, he blessed us with all heavenly blessings, in his spiritual blessings in heavenly places. So the whole, your faith is spiritual, right? So Paul getting us to see beyond that, right? So let's see here how Jesus handled this, and this is going to prove hold true this law, and how Jesus followed the same law here that I'm encouraging people to follow, not to break. Because when you break a law, remember what Psalms 94:20 saying, shall the throne of iniquity fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law. It frameth his mischief by a law. It has to get you to break a law, then the enemy could get access to you. Because it says if you resist the devil, he will flee. But if you don't resist him, he got access to you. He's not going to flee. You got to resist him with the word, right? So let's see how Jesus handles this. And Jesus followed this same law that we're talking about here. This is Matthew 16, 21 through 23. Matthew 16, 21 through 23 is when Jesus predicts his death. Jesus was telling them, From then on, Jesus began to tell his disciples plainly that it was necessary for him to go to Jerusalem and that he would suffer many terrible things at the hands of the elders, the leading priests, and the teachers of the religious law. He would be killed, but on the third day, he will rise again from the dead. So Jesus is telling them, guys, you know what? I got to go. I got to die. These people are going to do this, all these terrible things to me, but on the third day I will rise again, right? This is what God's will for my life, right? But here in 22, there's Matthew 16, 22 now. It's saying, but Peter took him aside and began to reprimand him. Peter took Jesus aside for saying such things. Heaven forbid, Lord, he said, this will never happen to you. So Peter took Jesus aside and said, what are you talking about? You dying. This is going to never happen to you. I'm not going to let this happen to you. You're going to die. We're not going to allow these people to do all these terrible things to you, right? That's what Peter took him aside and saying. But hear how Jesus respond. I want you to see how Jesus respond. In Matthew 16, 23, this is how Jesus responded to what Peter was telling him. Jesus turned to Peter. He turned to Peter. But hear what he said. Jesus turned to Peter and said, get away from me, Satan. Jesus turned to Peter and said, get away from me, Satan. You are a dangerous trap for me. This is the NLT translation. I can read this piece in the NIV in a little bit. Get away from me, Satan, for you're a dangerous trap to me. You are seeing things merely from a human point of view, not from God's, right? And the NIV version said, Jesus turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. And that's what this law is stating, right? You see, Jesus turned to Peter. He turned to Peter, but he said, get behind me, Satan. So Jesus was not talking to Peter as in the spirit of Peter. He was talking to the enemy, the devil that's influencing Peter to say such things. Because here we said, you just seeing things from a human point of view, boy. This thing is bigger than this. This thing is spiritual. I got to die. And the enemy knows that when Jesus died, what it's going to do for mankind and all of that. So he's trying to influence Peter to tell Jesus, we ain't going to do it. You're going to die. Don't die. Stay. Because you're just looking at it as a man dying. But with the cause of we dying for, that's what the enemy knows, and the enemy trying. So when Jesus looked at Peter and he said, get behind me, Satan, that's the same thing I'm trying to tell you. Don't look at your boss. Don't look at your child. Don't look at your ex. Don't look at them and say, there's the problem. Jesus didn't say, Peter, get behind me and shut your mouth. Jesus didn't say that. He said, get behind me, Satan, because he knew who was influencing Peter at that time. So Jesus himself is following this law right here, what I'm telling you to follow. Because the devil would love to keep you on surface things. He would love to keep you on the human. He would love to keep you, as this law is saying, set not your eyes on the things that are seen. Right? He would love to tell you, look, this is your problem right here in the physical, but it's beyond that. He's saying, look beyond that. So it's not the person in front of you is your problem. And Jesus demonstrated here to us by telling Peter, get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block to me. You're in NLT, say you're a dangerous trap to me. Because once you give in to him and you keep seeing things on a physical level, as we've seen from man's point of view, that's when he got access to you. That's when he can push in all these negative thoughts in your mind now and getting you to do the things that's going to destroy your life. Because if you go and stand up in front of your boss and curse your boss out and trying to get even with the boss and all of that, what's going to be your result? What is going to be your result? God ain't going to tell you to do that. That's when the enemy, that's when you give in and you break this law. You start seeing the boss as the problem or your child as the problem. Whatever they are doing to you Look at it, and that's the spirit you pray against, guys. I did break down a lot of these stuff, so go back on YouTube and you can find them. But I want to give people the laws now. That's what I'm trying to do. Give you the law, and then you're going to see what's going on in your life. You look and see what law governs that, and you can get a guide on how to act. So this is the law that governs the spiritual warfare here, and a foundation of our Christian walk, right? Our enemies are not flesh and blood. We got to look beyond that as Christians. And if the enemy would love to keep us on the surface, looking at surface things, because if you keep us looking at surface things, he's hiding out and you're not detecting the real problem, and you're going to never get the results you're looking for because you're not dealing with the root of the problem. A person is not your problem. It's what's influencing them is your problem. I wish I had this knowledge when I was catching hell on my job. A boss that I had, that I was the best thing, and he was promoting me, and all of a sudden he just turned, and he didn't even understand why he turned against me. I wish I had this knowledge. I was making a mistake that I'm trying to get you not to make. I was fighting him and looking at him and wondering what happened to him and why he changed. And I go through hell for 2 years. But had I known this law the way I know it now, I could have saved myself a lot of problems. And I had to left my job. If that was God's will for me to leave, I would have left anyhow. But my life there could be a lot better. So when you get on the job today, if it's the boss giving you a problem, whatever it is, if they're controlling, you come against, as I go in here, Lord, I come against this controlling spirit that's influencing my boss right now, Father. I silence their powers because you give me the power. You said we have the power over all evil forces, and I using that authority that you give me right now to silence that power of that controlling spirit in my boss today, and I will have a good day. And you go in, and that's how you attack it. Don't go and curse the boss out. Don't go and curse him out. Don't pick up the phone right now cursing your ex out. Whatever they're doing, that's what's coming against you, and you pray against that. All right, guys, I'm going to leave that there. We can try and take a next law on Friday. We can break these laws down, and I want to make sure people get a good understanding of what's affecting them. All right, guys, have a great day. Talk to you guys later. Goodbye.